Welcome to another episode of Mechanically Inclined, where I teach you about different board game terms and different board game mechanics to better prepare you to select and enjoy the next board game that you play with your family. Today, I want to talk about abstract strategy games. Now, I recently introduced Alicia to a game in my collection that I've been wanting to play. And after we played it, I found that I really enjoyed this game. My wife, not so much. And she said it was because she couldn't really get into the theme. And I explained to her, it's not even about the theme, it's more about the spatial puzzle that's in front of you. And I think that is a great definition of an abstract strategy game. Theme does not matter. It's all about that spatial puzzle that you have in front of you. I think the best example of an abstract strategy game is the game of chess. You're moving pieces on the board trying to capture the other player's king. Now, there's no theme. Now, don't get me wrong. You have a piece called the king, you got a queen, you got a knight, but I think those are put there just to show how you can move those pieces. But there really is no theme to the game of chess. Now, there are later versions of chess that have come out where they tried to add a little bit of theme to it. Like they made Marvel chess, they got DC chess, they got a Game of Thrones chess. If you know about Mario from the Nintendo fame, they got Mario chess, they got his nemesis on the other side. But does it change how you play the game of chess? No, it doesn't. So, chess is a great game. I know how to make the moves and everything, but I don't know how to play chess, put it that way. So, I want to talk about some great abstract strategy games that, you could introduce to your family. Now, the first one I want to talk about is a game called Onitama. Now, last summer, went to visit my uncle, and my uncle was talking about how he's an avid chess player, and he was trying to introduce his grandson, my cousin, to the game of chess. And his grandson didn't want to play. And I explained to my uncle, like, no one wants to keep losing, especially at that young age. They still, don't get me wrong, it's a life lesson, okay, but yeah, no one wants to play a game where they're always losing. And anybody that knows chess, if you want to learn it, prepare to lose a lot. So I've located a local board game store, went to the store, bought my uncle a copy of this game, Onitama. And I told him, like, Onitama is similar to chess, but it evens the playing field. So in Onitama, each player gets 5 pawns. They got 1 main pawn, 4 small pawns. And what you're trying to do is you can win in 2 ways. You can either capture the opponent's main pawn or move your main pawn into the starting space of the opponent's main pawn. But the moves are dictated by the stack of cards that come in the game. At the beginning of the game, you randomly draw 5. You get 2, your opponent gets 2, and then there's 1 card that's placed in the middle of the table. And you on your turn, you use one of those cards to show where you can move your pawn on the board. And then you place that card in the middle of the table, and you grab the card that was in the middle of the table. So Onitama is perfect information on the table. You can see all the moves your opponent can make and vice versa. So now you have to plan accordingly. This, to me, is better than chess. Now, I watched my uncle and his grandson play, and of course my uncle still won. But my cousin saw that there's a possibility that he could win this game. And that's Onitama. Now, the next game I want to talk about is one of the first abstract strategy games that I introduced my wife to because I knew she would really like the theme, and that game is Sagrada. Now, Sagrada, pretty much what you're doing is you're taking dice and you're placing it on your player board. And these dice are all in different colors, but there are restrictions how you can place your dice. You can't put a 5-pip dice next to a 5-pip die. You can't put a red die next to a red die. So you have to place those dice in such a way to score those points. And you're drafting the dice from a pool. And of course, at the end, your board looks like a stained glass window because of all the different colors. And I like the way they incorporated that into this game. This is a very beautiful game. And my wife really enjoyed this game. But when all comes down to it, you're not making a stained glass window. You're placing dice. I don't remember ever seeing dice in the stained glass windows at church. But that's neither here nor there. So the next game is the game that won the 2018 Spiel des Jahres. And that game is called Azul. Now, Azul, in the game of Azul, you're collecting these different colored tiles and you're placing it on your board to create these different patterns. And then at the end of each round, you're scoring points based on how you place those tiles. And you also have to be careful because sometimes you get tiles that you can't use, and those will count as negative points at the end of the game. Azul is another beautiful game based on building, the placing tiles on the walls in Portugal or whatever. I think that's what the theme is supposed to be about. But it's not about the theme, about the spatial puzzle in front of you. I can see why this game won that award. Next game I want to talk about is a game called Reef. Now, in Reef, the players are collecting these colorful, chunky pieces and building a coral reef on their board. And there are these cards that have a multi-use to it. When you play a card, it shows you what pieces you can collect from the supply. And then at the bottom, it shows you if you have this pattern on your board, then you score points for that. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. Reef is another beautiful, colorful game on the table. Very easy to get into, very easy to learn. Now, the next game I want to talk about is the game that me and my wife played. The game that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And that game is called Remember Our Trip. Now, if you watch my past videos, you know I really get into the Japanese culture. And when I learned about this game, I had to have it, bought it, and been wanting to play it. So, in Remember Our Trip, the players have just recently came back from a trip to Japan. And they're trying to recreate the map of what they saw. So in the game, you're trying to you're collecting these image tokens and you're placing them on your personal board, trying to form these different shapes. And once you form a shape that you're looking for, then you say, okay, this is where that hotel was. And so you take the shape of the hotel out the supply and put it onto the main board, and you score points based on where you place that hotel. And now the other players are trying to match up to your memories. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. That is where that hotel was. This game, just a really unique theme, just a really relaxed theme. The puzzle's not relaxed because that puzzle will get to you. And that's what I really loved about the game. Like I said, my wife, she didn't really feel it, but I love that game. That game, Remember Our Trip. So the last game I want to talk about is a game my wife did enjoy, and it's one of my best games of 2020, and that game is called Calico. Now in Calico, we're making a quilt. We're sewing buttons on our quilt, and we're trying to make the quilt in such a way to attract these beautiful cats to come over and snuggle up with our quilt, and that scores us points. Calico is just a really well done spatial puzzle of a game. Now, they say, like I said, theme doesn't matter. I like the fact they put this theme in the game. I don't know what other theme they could have put on this. Because, you know, I think most people really like cats. So I think that was one of the great selling points. This game is very puzzly, though. For the theme, when you go in like, oh, cats and quilts, okay. Now you come out at the other end with your head kind of hurting because you had to really think about how you're going to make your quilt to score points. Calico, it's a great game. Once you try some of these other abstract strategy games, Calico is a great one to move to. So, those are some of my favorite abstract strategy games that I have in my collection. And I have some more, but I don't want to make the video more longer than it has to be. So, if you like the contents of this video, feel free to subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And like I said, that is my definition of an abstract strategy game. Theme doesn't matter. It's all about that spatial puzzle that's in front of you. In the comments below, leave me some of your favorite abstract strategy games. I'm Dwayne. This has been Mechanically Inclined, and I will see you next time.